Well, guys, I got my buddy Joe Gaddis here. Joe is the guy that Keith is having scan the data on the Capstan for Tally-Ho. So, Leo, if you're watching, we've got it here right now, and Keith's going to be picking it up in Meridian probably next week. And, Joe, is this the biggest thing you've scanned so far?
Yeah, I think so. That's probably the biggest piece of material that I've scanned at a single given time at this point in time.
How much storage do you need to scan an item that big?
You know what? That's a good question on the actual file size of the data size of that. I'm not sure, but I mean, it takes a whole bunch of point cloud, a whole bunch of little points, and then that turns into what they call a point cloud. And then that point cloud I can turn into a mesh, which is basically a whole bunch of little small triangles. And then from there, you can do whatever you want with it in CAD.
I've said before, we used to work together out at Eaton Aerospace, and he was one of the manufacturing engineers they had there. I used to work with his Uncle Jeff out at Rocket Machine Shop, and he worked night shift and I was working day shift. We were both working part-time, I think, at that time, and never saw each other and didn't know we worked there until later after we met at Eaton. So we're kind of like family, I guess you could say. But anyway, we got this far with the Capstan. I don't know the call. I don't know who's going to be in charge of pouring the broken piece, but I kind of got a feeling it'll be done here. And when we get ready, if we are going to pour it, I'll have you back out here the night we pour.
To watch it.
And I'd like to get Leo out here. If he would be interested in seeing this, we'd love to have him as well. If you remember, this is the Capstan pedestal, or the spool. This is going to be this is the actual base. We don't have the shaft here. And then over here, I don't have to tell you what all this stuff is, do I? But anyway, this is all, we're trying to keep it all together, and it'll be back in Keith's hands probably next week. This is Joe's first visit out to the foundry, and he realizes I have lost my mind leaving such a good air-conditioned job for this kind of stuff, because it is hot. Man, it is brutal out here today.
It is a scorcher out here today.
Yeah, Dollar, she's panting up a storm, so I got to get her cooled down soon. She's probably hit the pond. We had a horrific storm a while ago. It was 2:15 in the morning. But this is the second time in a row in a week we got some really bad weather like that. Really high winds. But for those that are not aware of what I'm doing here, I am putting the finest facing sand down first. Let's look at one thing. All the draft angle on these tabs appears to be from the front side down. It's nice to be back in my green sand. This particular mold here is for Mr. Greg Fortin, and this is like the fourth attempt to get him some good castings. Nothing to do with the furnace. The cross-sectional thickness of this pattern is super thin, way under the recommended specifications for trying to do this. We don't use phosphorus here. Come on, G. Get. My dad's dogs are hanging out here because of the weather. And Buddy is tied in with a skunk again. Man, he's smelling rough. And he's right here by me. Can't get him to go on. But he's scared. Dropping the casting. Alright, so the casting stayed in place, that's good. Let's see if I can't work everything off of this tab right here. I want to make sure this is going to pull clean. Before we ram the rest of it. Good thing I pulled it now, huh? All right. I'm going to go ahead and put my pouring basin in. I'll put it down here. We're going to put a vent on this end. You know what? This has got to fill fast. This might be more suitable. It broke a little of the sand loose. That's no that's no problem. We're not going to ram this again to try to clear that up. This is my fourth or fifth time to ram this same thing up, so we're just going to roll with it. So I'm going to cut a very wide gate here, and I'm going to cut an entranceway. This is not really going to be a riser. This is just for all the gases to escape. Let this thing fill fast. So now here we're gonna put a wide runner here. I'm tired of recasting this thing. I like that. All we got to do with this one is just clean it off and cut the pouring basin. Alright guys, that's it. Extremely amount. Maybe I'll sit them. You'll sit them down, I'll take them.
Yeah, they're all here.
Hang on a minute. Oh, some of your plants.
That looks like parsley almost.
Yeah, I wouldn't need it. Now, my sprue is right here. I did not want most of the pressure shooting right down in this spoke at first. I wanted it to go around and hit in between the spokes and then come this way on the runner and then distribute down in there to try to calm the flow down a little bit. Putting just a little bit of edge right there. Alright, so as I went to put it together, I don't know if you can see that. There's a piece of metal down in that sprue. We need to get that out. All right, so this is what we got from last night. This, and this, and this are Keith's. I gotta get those cleaned up. And this dude. Finally, we got a good casting. Now, I'm gonna tell you guys, I have had to cast, this is the, I think the 4th attempt to get this made. And the cross-sectional thickness on that, I was able to measure it, the ones that failed, and it checked out at 150 thousandths, just slightly over 1/8 of an inch thick. And this one finally made it. So it is not recommended that you ever go that thin on a casting wall, because of not only the complexity of trying to pour the crazy thing, but also because it is probably white iron all in here. You're probably going to have all kinds of stress. That's why these break so easily. But we finally pulled it off. I got the customer a casting, and I'm going to be very careful with that as I grind and clean it up to make sure we don't crack or fracture it. Next step is to knock the core out of this one. You recognize that. We already did one, I think, last week on last week's video. So, and we'll get the gear cleaned up. I believe that's for a Champion blower. He's going to be doing some blacksmithing for Jimmy DeRisa's bandsaw. Alright guys, this is the castings ground cleaned up. I am getting ready to stress relieve these along with the other set that goes with these two over here. The wheel turned out looking really good. This is the side that was in the drag, and this is the side that was in the cope. Had absolutely no shrinkage in that whatsoever. That's good. We were able to pour the 3rd one of these doors. Got that done. And by far, the trickiest one was this one. I need to hit that with a grinder right here and clean that up. I forgot about that, so I'm going to leave it like that where I don't forget. And we were going to throw another casting in this particular run, which is this thing. And it did not work. I fought that thing 3 different times trying to get it to pull halfway decent. I couldn't even do that. The finish wasn't so bad that it would have caused problems. It's pretty slick. The problem is the uneven wear and the draft angle here. It's actually got negative draft, you can't see. And then, of course, we have a tooth here that was brazed. And anytime you go to braze something, you're going to see I already kissed it with the belt sander a little bit to try to knock some of that down just to get it to pull. And it just wasn't having it. Without a pattern, we're just not going to be able to replicate that one. If I can mold it, I don't mind redoing it and doing it again until we get an actual good quality casting, or at least a decent one. But when I can't even get a successful mold on it to pour the thing, well, there's nothing I can do. It's out of my hands from there. So, and I hate it because it was a waste of our time. I can't charge for that. On top of that, I got to pay to ship the thing back now. I do get jobs from time to time that backfire. I hope y'all are cooler than I am down here, because it hit 100 degrees today, and it is 12:02 a.m. on Sunday. I'm fixing to release this video, and it's 86 degrees currently. I do have some good news for me. We are going to be putting a huge exhaust fan right here in this wall. We're going to have to take those 2-bys down, move the wiring up and down, because this fan is 4 foot. It's a used one. It's an Acme fan. Of course, you guys know I only prefer Acme products when I can get my hands on them. But this one is, it's used, bent up, so I got to do some blacksmithing on it, beat it back out, and the motor's locked up on it. But for $100, you can't beat it. And in next week's video, you're going to see me pouring this. As you saw earlier, Josie's been building the flask for the 18-inch straight edge. And this is the pattern, and it's on the board. And for the most part, it pulled super clean. I want to thank Mike Wiggins for the great job he did on this pattern. The only areas it was grabbing sand was with the addition that I made for the gating. Now, we don't know yet if this is going to pour. We may have to change our configuration up before this is over, but right now I'm feeling pretty good about it. Keith and I poured a test 18-inch straight edge several months ago with basically the same configuration, and it did just fine. So we're going to see how this does, and if it works like I think it will, we're going to have a bunch of these available coming soon. As I said, I hope you guys are staying a lot cooler than I am. It has been brutal down here, and Josie and I are finally acclimated to the new time schedule. It got so hot out here the other day, we had to let Jake in our house to cool down. he's getting to be a big old dog, and it's getting rough on him. Thought about shaving him. Well, guys, have a great remainder of your Sunday, and I will probably see you next week. For those who have been asking about the Windy Hill Foundry hats, these are now available on my website, windyhillfoundry.com, under stores, or you can click on the above link. These are on the pricey side, but keep in mind the shipping is included. Have a good day.